I didn't even tell you guys. I almost won huge on Monday night. I was in first place in the prime time for 10 grand. I ended up making 800.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean,
wait, first off, before we start the show, what channel is Tiger on? Or are you just watching
it on the U.S. Open channel? You know, they have
probably not on TV yet. Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, for our viewers, the U.S. Open started today. I'm a big ball fan.
I'll be watching paint dry.
So, pretty ugly day, guys.
Yeah, pretty ugly day for sure. You know, it looked like right after, not even right after, but during Jerome Powell's speech, he was getting some questions that it just seemed like made him nervous and felt like he was fumbling over his words. Then the market started to sell off. And this morning looks like a sea of red.
It's funny that it didn't have any impact at all based on what he was saying because the rates are staying low.
Yeah, I don't think he said anything of any consequence as far as moving the needle on policy. Maybe the market just needed to have a sell-off here and using that for an excuse.
Yeah, makes sense. And I mean, you know, to me, unless the markets go below their recent lows, this could just be another opportunity to reload if you haven't gotten that chance. You know,
saying that some of these stocks are already below the levels they hit the other day. For example, Amazon is lower.
I was actually thinking about buying some Amazon last night.
Microsoft is lower. And I don't think it's a coincidence that this new company that came out yesterday, SNOW is the symbol, which is competition for Microsoft and Amazon in some of the services. I think there might be money just going away from that going into this thing. Not a lot.
Great buying opportunity then for Amazon and Microsoft. I bought more Facebook yesterday. Could have waited till today, but got in there at 161 yesterday. So that I look at that today, even I already own a ton of Facebook.
Yeah, the thing with Facebook is, you know, the 50-day and the 200-day have to be watched. And I think pre-market, it's through the 50-day today because it's below 260. And the 200-day is 231-ish, right around there. So,
right, well, if it keeps dipping, I'll just jump on more of it. That stock's just going moon long.
And that Apple, you know, I know the last time we talked about it, you talked about that 108 level. That looks like it can come into play pretty easily today, pretty quickly here. It's 109.65
Apple is through their 50-day is 110.06 right now. So it looks like it's going to open right below that. So it'll be interesting to see if it gets support there. If not, there's all kinds of gaps. We talked about 106.70, I think, is the level. And in another debacle, it could get down to 100.
Yeah. Dad, I know before the show started, I brought up DraftKings. Now I have a short position. To me, they're showing more strength than other names this morning.
Yeah.
You think I should be getting out of this before the market even opens? Or I don't understand the run-up that DraftKings has gone on. I mean, I understand it. I just think it's way overdone.
Well, there's a lot of people betting on golf, too. So it could be the...
Yeah, but I don't see... Can we go over that for a second with the stock moving off of there being a tournament that goes on every year?
Yeah, well, listen, I don't think a lot of correlation. But
I just don't get that personally. It's like the stock's going up because sports are just having a golf tournament called the U.S. Open, which happens every year. What are we talking about here?
I think
the stock's not going up; it's going down.
No, but you know what I mean. The whole notion that a stock should be moving off of something happening in the sport.
Yesterday, I think the big move was because the night before they decided that the Big Ten was playing football, and then you pair that with the Giants exclusive thing, which to me is complete fluff.
Even that, though, the Big Ten playing football, a shortened season, how many, what type of action are we even talking about to move that stock?
No, you're absolutely right.
Even playing.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I'm short the stock. And
yeah, I think it's if you can time it right, and Danny, it sounds like you did. You know, this stock probably should come down to 44, 3/4 to 45, somewhere around there.
Yeah, but looking at the pre-market action, and obviously it's early still. I'm nervous because I'm looking at all these other names that are selling off big, and DraftKings is kind of not yet, at least. I mean, the volume's still light, so I don't know. I think I should just sit tight here and put in some stop orders because I'm sure 52.25.
The retail's in that, so they're playing that. Sorrento is up huge today. Again, SRNE. So maybe they're making money on that, so they're keeping their DraftKings. I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, DraftKings is definitely starting to sell off a little bit more. And for our viewers, I mean, something I always do just at the end of the day, like the last hour of trading, is I'll keep an eye on the futures. And if they start slipping, I usually try and look for like some quick short opportunities of stocks that are going to just like have, end of the day flush outs because people are just kind of in panic mode. I just try and think of, how your average retail investor is probably thinking if the market starts to turn red and which stocks they're trying to unload. At what points it's probably going to turn into like an all-out flush out. So, and it's been hard because the market doesn't really sell off that much. But to me, that's always a trade that comes a little bit easier to me than trying to figure out like buying the dips is waiting for stocks that are about to flush out and pounce like as that's happening, which I'm hoping is what's going to happen with DraftKings. What else is under pressure?
Definitely buying more Amazon today at 3,000.
I think Amazon could go a lot lower, Mike. Just be 20.
I don't see it. A lot of things could happen, Dad. Yeah. That's not, I don't see that making any sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, Amazon's just not been the flavor of the quarter, really. I mean, that stock has
at all. It's been doing nothing.
Same with Shopify. I mean, I told you guys I added a little bit to Shopify. That stock was not doing well yesterday, and it looks like it's going to have a bad day again today.
And then opportunity for me to get back in Shopify.
Yeah, and then you guys brought it up before the show started, but for our viewers, Dave & Buster's announced that they might be going bankrupt, it sounds like, so they're kind of flushing out today. And another one that I follow, Carnival Cruise Line, announced this morning that they're canceling more cruises into next year. So their stock's selling off, but it's at really interesting levels at 1585. There's support at 15.
Cruises to me, if they went extinct, it would be fine for the world. Like I don't see myself getting on one again.
There's a lot of people that like that stuff. Yeah. But a Carnival Cruise Line, I might try and make a trade here on 1585 because if that level holds, it seems like there's some support, and if it breaks, then maybe not. What else we got going? Dad, talk about the Snow IPO yesterday because it seems like it broke the internet. I'm amazed by it.
Yeah, Snow is the symbol, SNOW. What's the name of the company? Snowflake?
Snowflake. I bought a tiny bit, not right at the open, but just to kind of track the lifetime of this stock.
Yeah, this is an example of anyone who was able to get stock, which are few and far between in the IPO. It was priced at 120 and opened at 245. So obviously, anyone who got it on the deal has made a fortune, and everyone else who bought it in the aftermarket is pretty much underwater. It ran up to 319 and then slowly started coming down. So I would think there's a lot of people caught in this thing at much higher levels. The valuation is 100 times earnings, 100 times revenue. So it's going to take years for this company to catch up to its price. So it's just so overpriced in my view. But people are going to have to own it like some of these other names. So like Tesla, maybe it gets even more crazy, but I wouldn't touch it with any of your money.
And I mean, the one thing, Dad, you always talk about that you can kind of see in the price action is when something like yesterday happens where I think that stock might have touched 300 for a minute. I don't know if it did. Yeah, so when you look at the roller coaster was on yesterday, there's so many people that are now stuck in it at higher prices that as soon as it gets there, they're going to want to sell out. And, just because now they're probably down so much money on it, and it's going to, take a while for that stock to probably work its way through all the levels that traps people in. Carnival Cruise Line breaking through 515.85. Maybe that stock goes way lower today.
Yeah, and SNOW, the low is 230, 111. If it goes below that level, this thing might crater to like 150.
Really?
Who knows? There's nothing to go on. There's no charts or anything like that. So, I think people got excited because Berkshire Hathaway had a small piece, and obviously all the insiders are Silicon Valley experts.
Yeah. Mike, did you end up buying Match? Because they got an upgrade this morning. That's one stock that's up right now. It'd probably be up
still Match. I'll get back in it. I made a quick buck on them.
The reason they got the upgrade, they saw, or they didn't see, but they're projecting a lot of growth in Hinge, which just cracks me up because Match owns Tinder and Hinge, and they're saying like, oh, Hinge could be better than Tinder, and it's like, all right, well then Hinge is just going to take away from Tinder. But don't get me wrong, I love Match. I love that whole industry. And Mike, we've been talking about Match since they were $18 stock back in 2000.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going anywhere. I think the apps have gone way downhill because I've used them personally. I think they're all crap. There's a lot of scam and not like real profiles on there. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, as an investor, you can be rest assured that if something better comes along, Match is in a position to buy them, like they've done with so many of these.
Isn't Bumble going public or have
yeah,
they?
Yeah, no, sure. So
which should help. I don't see that.
What that's going to do is anyone who is in the space is going to want to sell some Match to get into the.
I don't think so. There's no other dating apps to buy.
That's how it works, though, Mike.
I get that, but it's not like there's 8 of these. I think if anything, it just.
I mean, we saw that happen yesterday with Snowflake, and it's going to probably happen again with Airbnb.
Which makes a great buying opportunity for Amazon and Microsoft. That's just a short-term, great discount opportunity for a behemoth, if anything.
Yeah, but it's the reality.
Time and time again, Match shit the bed when Facebook was getting into dating, which we knew was never going to be a thing. These big companies will talk about doing things, and then it's a great opportunity to jump ship.
Well, let me ask you, I mean, Dad, because I just have no idea the answer to this, but at what point is there just not enough money to go around for new IPOs, IPO after IPO after IPO? I mean, gotta be something.
Don't forget that, while these IPOs are going on, there's also buybacks going on by some companies. So that takes money out of the market. So to some extent, I'm not sure what the equilibrium is right now, but there's supply coming out of the market all the time as supply goes in from the IPOs or secondaries. So it's a good point, and it's important to watch the IPO market. What is that?
Another upgrade this morning from some company I've never heard of. That stock's just been on a beast along with DraftKings. I'll tell you, if Penn has any hiccups in the sports betting app that they're about to launch, look out below. I don't think they will. I'm just saying that.
I don't know. Based on our experience with apps, don't you think they're going to run into some kind of problem?
Maybe.
No, with the amount of money they have, I doubt it. Yeah, that money solves the problem. When you're funded with a U.S. print, the mint like that, you just print cash. You don't have tech problems when money never goes away.
I was thinking about the other day, like occasionally I haven't bet on sports in a long time, but when I did, I used to use Bovada. And I sit here, and part of that's probably because it wasn't legal where I was at, and Bovada allowed me to bet on sports. But I sit here and I think to myself, like, if I'm happy with a platform that I'm betting at, and don't get me wrong, like Portnoy, really entertaining. I love the guy, but like, is he going to cause me to change platforms and go through that process if I'm content with what I'm using?
And that's what I always talk about with loyalty. If you ever know how to community build, it's the most valuable thing on the planet, and you could steer someone, no doubt about it.
Well, then, I mean, look, based on that, and I'll still go back to it, I don't know at what point is Penn maybe going to buy the rest of Barstool, because the reason I love Penn is all Barstool, not Penn. And when you look at the growth ahead of Barstool, not only with their sports betting app, I look at all the other things. They have a couple alcohol lines that are starting to blow up. They, have a couple amateur sports leagues that are starting to gain traction. You don't know what's going to just really pop for that company. And I don't know how much of that Penn's going to be able to, win off of, or if that's going to be kind of separate because it's Barstool, or maybe at one point Barstool's a separate spinoff. But either way, I obviously love the future of Barstool Sports, and right now the way to invest in that's Penn. So, Dad, Boeing was looking like it was having a good day yesterday. I think I'm going to buy more Boeing because it seems like this is a level where,
we were talking about it. We mentioned it a few times. The bad news just keeps on coming, and the stock has stopped going down. I mean, pre-market, it was down $2 yesterday, and at one point, I think it was up $6 before the market started to get hit. So they're absorbing a lot of bad news, and I think they got bad news again today. Southwest was pulling some of their planes. I don't know what the reason was, but at some point, the bad news is going to stop. And I think that's what the market's perceiving there. But today is taking no prisoners. Today is going to be a bloodbath to start. No question about it.
Good opportunity for you to get in beyond on the bloodbath day, because that stock, as we've seen, just keeps going up. Today it's down, obviously, because of the market starting.
Well, I just recently learned that, what was it, last year they saved 32,000 cows?
There you go, Dad. So that'll just keep going up. That
Dad,
stock, I mean, when you look at what they're doing, it's I don't know if you haven't gotten in on it yet, but we keep bringing them up, and this keeps happening. They keep moving up. So I don't know what anyone's waiting for. Dan, you heard on the game show with Connell the other day how much of the market's untapped. 99% of the market share. So
Beyond is clearly, you've been talking about them. Their stock's been going up parabolically these last few days. So I don't know if you want a pullback, but I don't think anyone's questioning Beyond Meat at this point. A
lot of people are questioning them. I was reading a ton of analysts yesterday saying they have way too much competition and there's no more growth ahead. They must be living under a rock. No more growth ahead. They haven't even scratched the surface yet with where we're heading in that movement.
Yeah, so, I always think about with that. And Mark Cuban always says when people start talking about the total market, he walks the other direction.
So that means he'd be buying way more of it right now.
No, because people talk about how big the market's potential is. And
no, they were saying the market, they don't have much more growth potential. The opposite.
Let's move on from Beyond. We talk about them all the time. I think
we talk about everything all the time, Dan. I've heard play 80 times from your mouth. So who gives a shit?
Well, we've talked about Beyond now for like the last.
I've heard stocks on here. I've heard 80 times too many.
Well, Dad, why don't you give us an update on gold, Bitcoin, the currencies?
Okay. What do you want to talk about there?
Just where they're at. And I'm also trying to look at where, I think September 8th was the lows in the S&P in this recent little pullback.
Bitcoin
and I think
is climbing again.
I think it got down to, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm just trying to look this up on my phone, but
Bitcoin is down 1.4% today, which, goes in line when the market goes down, people sell Bitcoin. It goes up when inflation is talked about.
Which, Dad, at the end of the day, the fact that that's not a signal for you to be gung-ho on where Bitcoin's heading is beyond me.
I am thinking about gold, though, a lot. I think that's
you're thinking about
Mike,
gold.
I think the thing with Bitcoin, we've kind of talked about this, it probably needs to get to a certain point before like all the different money managers include it in their asset management. And until then, it's too much relied on whether or not people have cash or not. So when they don't, they sell Bitcoin along with stocks just because they need to raise liquidity. It doesn't really happen.
The conversation 5 years ago, it wasn't even that. That's where it's obvious how much this has matured. That's even a conversation that's coming now with their asset classes and management. That's where we're heading. They're going to take over gold.
Is it above 10,000 still?
Yeah, it's almost 11,000.
Yeah, it seems like it's been holding those levels pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean,
29.
Definitely in there, but today would not be a day people are saying, I can't wait to get into Bitcoin.
Well, that's maybe when you buy it.
So just so you guys, at least this is what I'm looking at here, 33.29, which is where the futures are right now, is the same spot the low was at on September 8th, which was the low of this recent pullback. So I'm trying to see, yeah. So that's kind of an interesting level because maybe it just bounces right off that again. I think got down to on August 11th, 33.26. So like
I think that is important, but I think that what the market is sensing is the politics have taken over in Washington, and the market really wanted another stimulus package. Powell talked about how he can't do anything on that end, and it's possible if they don't get another stimulus package in there in the next week or so that things can start looking negative again on employment. And
I mean, I'm definitely starting to be concerned. Even I had a lunch club hangout yesterday with someone that was laid off in May. I have a buddy that was just laid off. It's starting to just feel like it's not all peaches and cream out there when you're starting to see next level people out of jobs that aren't in these like, oh, let me just go get a gig at a restaurant. This is like high.
You're seeing that?
Yeah, I am seeing that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's what I was in my head until that happened. I didn't really look at this as next level.
Well, that is happening, and no one's really talking about that.
I think they are talking about it, and that's why the market is acting heavy.
Like at high companies too, like people that, where I'm starting to be like, oh, that's concerning, where people getting left off and out in companies that the fact they're making layoffs to begin with, I start asking myself, where is that heading?
You'll have to tell me who these people are on the show. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's going to be, especially with, kinds of the pandemic kind of hovering around and the virus starting to pick up steam again in the colder months. All I keep hearing about is how it's starting to get real bad in Europe. Europe was kind of, Jesus, sounds like it's getting bad with me. Just kidding. But Europe was ahead of us with all that. So if we do see a tick up in the virus again, which everyone's been saying that's definitely going to happen.
We're heading into a cold weather month. So naturally we're going to hear no matter what, whether it's the virus or whatever it is, people are going to be sick more in cold weather.
Well, the colleges are definitely having major problems.
DraftKings just broke 50. I love to see it, even though, I hate to see it. But
we talk about Ford a lot, and Ford came out with an announcement today that they're increasing they're going to make the electric truck out of their F-150s.
Oh, and they're up.
And the stock is up on this news. So if people can catch on to the fact that they're in the electric car business, maybe we got another Nikola on.
I mean, that's all marketing. They want people.
I mean, first off, yeah, and the fact that Ford's up on a day like today, I wonder what would they be up if the market was up this morning.
Yeah,
so good time to buy more Ford then.
And, the other one that was kind of, a similar chart to Ford for a long time was GE, which came alive out of the dead the last.
No, thank you. I'm staying far away from that.
From 6 to 7 in 2 days.
I will say though, it's tough to not. Nice. I just 1,000. Not that. Some of my DraftKings just got covered pre-market at 49.82. That's good to say. But what I was going to say is just if I'm going to make trades today, it's tough to not want to at least try these levels out. Like these levels clearly have bounced off in the past, and if they break
I'll be
through,
jumping on Nvidia at the morning opening here.
Well, Nvidia is trading at 483 right now.
Yep.
So it got down to, if we look at the chart, it's not quite at its lows.
I sold it near its highs, so I've been just waiting.
DraftKings just covered. DraftKings flushing out right now.
The low on Nvidia was 467.80 in the last fall. So if you're looking to buy at the some level, that would be where you might want to think about it. The 50-day is 463.20 right now.
And I got some. I have a new position in Uber and Etsy, and I also added to my ABBV and Facebook.
I own a little Uber too, Mike. Not much, but
it just is a holding. It's one of those things. They have too much money to be going out of business, so I just look at that as they're bad news can't get any worse with where that company has been.
I agree. I think at some point we're going to look back and love these levels.
Yeah, when self-driving is a thing way sooner than people think, that stock's going to the moon. So
yeah, Microsoft now below 201. That's going to be interesting, the one to watch, because did it ever break? Did it get down to 191 last time?
No.
Last time
No.
it didn't, right?
This is the lowest it's
but
been.
it could. There's no reason it can't drop down there.
Well, yeah, like Dad was saying, you almost feel like the market's going to put pressure on Congress to get a deal done, which is kind of what happened in February.
Yeah, this time the politics might be stronger than the will of the market. Trump will do anything to get a deal here, and I think Pelosi is now throwing in. She wants state taxes deductible on federal, into the plan, which is a real wrench. I don't know if that'll even get any traction at all.
Yeah, it's wild because she has so much money in the market with her husband. It's like the whole thing is comical to me.
Wow. 10,762-ish was, I believe, the low on the dip in August for the NASDAQ. And then it was a little above that. And that's probably because people are trying to beat each other to the punch to pick up stock when it drops. But 10,728, that was the low on the 11th.
We're probably going to get below there pretty soon.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, these are interesting levels. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It could be
either going to like tempting to jump on, and it's going to drop a lot more. That's where I'm kind of waiting to just jump the gun here, because part of me is thinking this is the beginning of more mess.
Yeah, I almost think you'll get a little pop off the open because we're at these almost retesting low levels, and then it's going to probably try and retest them again. And yeah, if it breaks the last lows, then who knows what happens? Then Dad, all those levels you brought up last time, a lot of the stocks only made it to the first part of that level. Then they're going to make it to the second part. We don't really have time to dive into what those levels were. Hopefully some people who watch this wrote them down if they want to know. But Dad, do you have any specific levels that you'd be picking up stock today on, let's say, an Apple, like 108? Are you going to
I think this is a kind of an interesting day to use your strategy of selling puts on some of these names, that you're thinking about buying rather than just buying the stocks outright. You might be getting nice premiums.
Selling put out of the money?
What? Yeah. Yeah, like if you want to buy Apple, maybe you sell the 100s for November.
That doesn't excite me at all. The only puts I'm getting involved in are when a stock's going to climb.
Well, that's the whole point. You want to do it when the stocks are lower.
I know, but I'm not going to do one in the money.
Who said in the money? The 100s are $10 out of the money.
Where are they trading right now?
Apple 110.
No, I meant no. I'm meaning a put doing it where it's going to climb out of the money.
Nothing like early morning trading here. I've now gotten out of 80% of my DraftKings short and only have 20% left for if it breaks below 49, then I'd take out the rest. I have an order at 48.61, which I might. No, I'm going to just hold that. And then honestly, I might do what I just talked about when the market opens. If there's like a little short-term rally, try and reload on the short. But back to what you guys were saying.
No, I mean Apple trading at 110. If you sell the 100 puts and pick up a premium of, let's say, $10 or $12, I don't know where they're trading, depending on how far out you go. That's not a bad play, right?
Yeah, I mean, the way Mike and I used to do it would be right now, Apple at 109, we'd look for a put at 135 a year out and collect like $50 per contract on it.
Well, that's enough to play it, but I don't like that particular 135s, but it's possible.
Well, no, I was just using an example where we'd go out into the money because we've always been.
Yeah, well, that's the more aggressive way to do it. Obviously,
that's the only way to do it, really. At the end of the day,
well, when we started doing it, we started doing the opposite because, you know, we kind of did it how Dad taught us at the beginning, which was we would do it below the prices. And that was, in my opinion, a nice conservative way to scoop up some premiums where, you know, I know Mark Cuban was talking about this when the market tanked hard in February, and that's been a strategy he's been doing on the up and up. I don't know if he still is, but it's, you know, it's conservative, but they still pay nice, and money is money. So there's something to be said for that. And just for our viewers, what we're talking about is selling puts, you know, a few months out, maybe even a year out, below where the stock's trading, depending on how low you look at the levels. And then if they ever get below that point, yeah, you're buying it. But if you're in a bullish market, they don't get below that point, and you're just collecting premiums. You never own the stock, so you sometimes do miss out on some runs. I mean,
basically, if Apple's trading at 110, and you sell the 100 puts for, let's say, a year out, you're going to collect a premium of probably $15. I don't know where it is, but let's say $15, which basically means you have protection all the way down to 75. So if everything fell apart, you'd end up buying Apple at $75.
And to add to that, I will say that when you do puts, it seems like the price action is really volatile in terms of if the stock starts to go up, your put could be up massively. So there's people that just trade options that's all they do.
Yeah, on a really bad day of a stock, it's a great time to do a long-term put option. That's another way of looking at it.
Mike, let's dabble in one today.
I'm down.
DraftKings at 150 in a year from now.
All right, staying away from that.
I'm just kidding. All right, guys.